What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking the Dark Side of the Ring Luna Vachon episode with fierce females, BigFemVader, the conquistadorist of gold. BigFemVader, Ayesha, Raymond. Champ, what's going on?
Thank you very much. How is everybody? To dive into this very, very dark hole right now.
Wait, you viewed a program called Dark Side of the Ring, and you were expecting hope?
A little bit of hope, education, somberness, just general, just uplifting moments. No.
Okay, so theoretically speaking, let's say there's hope, and on one side of that hope is a door, and all you have to do to get hope is to pass through that door, and it's wide open. The fucking doorway is wide open, and then you're marching through, and wham! The door opens closed. That's what we got. That's what we fucking got.
So basically, you just gave the entire analogy of wrestling, where you're kind of walking through that awesome corridor, you're seeing that bright light, and then suddenly, bang!
Wait, Mick Foley references?
Well,
it would be bang bang, which I don't want to do because I'm a dark fellow living in the
brown
US.
person who's got a window open living in the US. You don't want to shout bang.
No.
Don't shout bang.
No, don't. No. But yes, Luna Vachon, she was somebody that I absolutely found ghastly, as was Sherry Martel, and it was just because of the characters, and they look so different. And I was kind of brought up via the commentary and what have you. And oh man, some of Jerry Lawler's commentary does not age well in reference to Luna and Sherry, right? Right.
But then if you think in the context, it doesn't age well, that is correct. But if you think in the context of the character that he was supposed to be portraying, what were you expecting?
Apparently, I mean, expectations are falling short right and left. And we're really like 3 minutes into the damn thing. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. But do you have, I mean, obviously you're a gal who is heavily influenced by China. But I mean, did you have kind of a, context of Luna or her career prior to viewing this?
Of course I did. I mean, she was like, Luna is basically wrestling royalty. The Vachon family, my dog Michelle Vachon, everything about her, she just epitomized and embodied the natural kind of athleticism and just the general keenness to learn about the business. Even from her history from training with Muller, you knew that she generally wanted to be part of the business, and then that was somebody I did look up to because A, she didn't look like everybody else, that's my thing, and B, she didn't do exactly the same thing as everybody was doing. She didn't fit into that cookie cutter almost archetypal category of being the WWF, yes, I'm going to say it, F diva at the time. She was generally an athlete and a spectacle. And again, that's my thing. Those are the women that I attracted towards. Those are the women or athletes that I gravitated towards. And she was just seeing her story from the feud that she's had with Sherry and then with Sable is just it's heartbreaking to know that she was never able to hold the belt or hold the title or just be on top of the mountain.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny because I oftentimes do this with Owen Hart. And I think at the end of Darkside, the Owen Hart episode, the part 2, because they did 2 parts on Owen. But or was it Pillman? I can't remember, but definitely one of the ends of the episodes of the Owen one, where they're like, man, 6 months later, it was going to be Kurt Angle coming in. And guys like Shamrock, and he had already done the feud with Dan Severn. You were going to get he had just started working with the Young Edge and Christian. So talk about missed opportunities. These tragedies of awoken. But it's funny because Sable is kind of the heel, and I'm jumping around a bit, but she's the heel in the optics that are pro Luna kind of depiction in this particular piece of entertainment, piece of business, right? So, with that all being said, Sable was purported to be, the prima donna, right? And Vince kind of filled her head with all of these like gumdrops and rainbows. Luna's told, "Hey, if you hurt, this is mania." Like even Luna's estimation, it's the Super Bowl of wrestling, and she can't hit her, otherwise she gets fired, right? So like, imagine China coming in, who looks the part, looks like she could be, you know, matching metal with Luna, and it's not that at all. And China ends up being kind of the prototypical diva, the atypical prototypical diva.
Yeah, because unfortunately for Luna at the time, because of what they were looking for in terms of the women that they had on their roster, China could fit into both boxes. In That's a weird way of saying it. You could have her be that monster of an athlete and at the same time put her on the cover of Playboy. In the eyes of the management team at that time, and in the eyes of Vince McMahon at the time, Luna didn't fit those boxes. She checked the box of being a spectacle and a monster and an imposing force in the ring. But if it came to anybody to use as advertisement or anybody that was going to be put on a billboard and made a spectacle of, Luna wasn't going to be that person, because unfortunately that was the reigning era of the beach blonde bunnies and the big boob tank tops and the Govey Bowl matches that Luna wasn't going to fit into the category of doing. I mean, one of the most infamous things she did was refuse to do a bra and panties match. And apparently that was one of the things that escalated her firing. So because she wasn't going to fit into those categories and that box that Vince McMahon wanted for his women at the time, she was almost kind of painting herself into a corner unknowingly.
No, absolutely. Well, I love, they did, and I believe it's an RF video shoot interview, and it's kind of weird that audio would be
Yeah.
used because of Rob Feinstein, and you can put it in the Google machine. But I mean, that was kind of, the streamlined. If you wanted to get the stories of wrestlers of a certain era, that was the go-to RF videos and what have you. But she said it pretty poignantly, right? Where like, you've spent my entire run here telling people that I'm ugly, making me feel ugly. And
Mm-hmm.
now, and now, because this is what you're gearing towards, right? And it's kind of very similar to here we are now. AEW has realistic, reality based storylines versus what the WWE is selling, right? And then now they're using cursey words, right, and not bleeping it. But then the reason why they repealed the cursey words is because Vince's wife Linda is running for public office in the state, their home state of Connecticut, or adopted state of Connecticut, right? So like, that's the thing. That's the way that they wanted to go, and that for me, especially in this kind of weird COVID times and what have you, context is key. Like, people will spout like things about heritage, things about, in my day or whatever, but not they live a like, how much do you know outside of your fucking block, right? Outside of your block, outside of your commentary, bless you.
Thank
Um,
you.
how much do you really know about the world, right? And is it marred by maybe a faith based or lack thereof political based ideology that kind of shapes your view as a young kid? And then you could have everything in the world, and then something happens, and unfortunately, Luna had a really rough go, right? 4 years old, her dad, her biological dad, at least that's the way that they portrayed it, basically kills himself, right? And you know, it was it Butcher, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not Mad Dog, right? So Butcher Vachon, right? Paul Vachon, he was wrestling in Atlanta, and he was staying at the hotel, and the Luna's mom goes knocking on the door. It's like, my husband's, shot himself and whatever. And they didn't really get into it, but I think it was kind of strange, right? Where, he's there, right? Women knocks on the door and says, "My husband just, shot himself," right? And then the way that they depicted it, they go into maybe the lobby of this hotel or whatever, and it's not a huge hotel. It's like one of those like roadside hotels and what have you. And there's a 4-year-old Luna, and he's consoling her, and then Butcher ends up marrying the mom. I mean, I've heard of guys like hitting on girls at funerals and weddings, but this was a different this like I think
Untold sympathy?
yes,
No?
I mean he wasn't even fucking scraped off the canvas. By God,
Scraped off the canvas.
I mean that I'm sorry that's a kind of that was the Owen Hart deal, which I mean that's just as ghastly. But I mean, imagine if like one of the EMTs, as they're feverishly working on Owen trying to save his life, knowing that maybe the odds are pretty fucking stacked against them and not in their favor, but they're like, hey, so what are you doing after?
Looked at Martha and went, how you do it? No.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah. No, but that's the situation. I'm sorry. No disrespect at all.
No, not at all.
That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, and I guess and she grows up as a Vachon, and I don't know, I believe in outliers, right? Like what string of things or single one things lead to how a person becomes, right? Um, one of my favorite shows, we had a show here called Timeless, right? And it was only a 2-season show, but they had a time machine and they would go back in time and you know basically continue history. Like I think the first episode was like the Hindenburg, the damn thing, and I think they save it, but then they find out that it's a chain reaction because that fucking lead fucking balloon doesn't go down. There's a bunch of fucking people that were supposed to die that didn't die, and they create havoc and mayhem and bedlam, right? Um, so yeah, and that's kind of it. But I always liked those things because any one change of weather or whatever could yield a completely different result. It's almost like baking a cake. You can bake a cake at 375, but if you go 325, 400, gets weird. Shit gets weird, is what I'm saying. So I always like it. So what would have happened if Luna's dad never shot himself, as they said? I don't want to allude to what went on, but I'm going to phrase it the way that they phrased it, because they've got legal clearances. So, what if he hadn't shot himself and the mom and dad continue and Luna doesn't get, wind of wrestling? Does she end up having some of the mental strife that she later has and as an adult that went undiagnosed, and like many of that era, try to go pharmaceutically or chemical dependently trying to rectify what's going on in their thoughts and feelings, right? Um, you know, and then she, obviously she's a Vachon. She idolizes her aunt Vivian Vachon, the Queen of the Ring. There's literally a movie about her, I think in late '60s, early '70s, called called Queen of the Ring, and apparently there's some abuse that happens there. That's told by David Heath, Gangrel, you know, um, her former husband, and it's just like, wow, like I didn't know the trauma that was there, and I didn't think about it. I was just like, bad person. If I knew that as a whatever year old kid, I'd have been like, she's a baby face. All of the other, peroxide, whatever the hell. I mean, I actually like Bull Nakano. I like Bull Nakano. I like
You should.
Unalleged Bloods. Like
You
during
should.
that era, and so I would have, Luna would have been there versus like me, kind of like, don't know what to make of her.
But the thing that was kind of weird to me about the entire almost kind of the makeup of her character and the way that she was treated is we were kind of off the cusp of what you would call the comic book era of the era of these larger than life characters. You had during the 90s and the 2000s characters, actual larger than life characters, a TV show, entertainment, and characters. And yet she was pushed to the bottom of the barrel for somebody who basically looked like everything else. And
Yeah.
that just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you literally could have, again, no disrespect to anybody, but it's just pointing out to what was going on at the time. You literally could have walked down Malibu, like Harbor or Boulevard or whatever it is you call it, and
Yeah.
seen 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 girls that look just like Sable.
Yes. You know, and it's funny because it's not all bad because Luna was on the WWF Raw video game. Like I mean, Sherry, I believe, was there at the same time, and Sherry had a hell of a lot more tenure at this point. By the time WrestleMania rolls around and Luna makes her debut, well, Sherry has had a little bit more tenure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And imagine Sherry, like, here's Luna, and Luna gets the video game, and I think she might have been the only female in that game.
I'm trying to remember. Can't even remember.
I know Alundra Blaze was in it. Yeah, for video game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm literally trying to grab the roster. But I want to say she was the only one. I was like, her and Bam Bam. Like, that was it. So I have it. The full roster. No, it gave me the actual roster, not the fucking
no,
video
I don't
game.
want that.
Ah, shit me.
But then if you think about it that way, the fact that Sherry wasn't there but Luna was, that's a generational shift.
Right.
Because in almost kind of thinking about it, she was that era's version of Sherry's character, if you think about it, or even
Right.
Sherryness, or even that kind of athlete and that kind of worker. She was the new upgraded version.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't a bad run, but speaking of runs, there was a place where Alundra Blaze, Medusa, had pretty much, she was kind of relegated, as women's wrestling had been for at least 20 to 30 years up until that point, since like the 50s, right? Here we are in the 90s, so about 40 years, right? And she's just like, I'm not second fiddle. I'm not N Moore, on the poster. So, she devises a plan to have Luna win the strap, almost a Ric Flair and Victor Jovica, Puerto Rico NWA title switch, right? And, Luna just kind of refuses. And it is something that later on in life, in this, shoot interview that they kind of take the audio excerpts from, that she regretted it, and even her son Van, who, that was a very telling depiction because I mean, at least what was portrayed, there were two sons of Luna, right? No girls, just two boys. But Van heard her. I don't know even know where he placed.
He was on MasterChef, wasn't he, or something?
Was he?
I think it was something. He is like a renowned chef, like a professional chef. I think it was either MasterChef or Hell's Kitchen or something, but he was on something.
Wow, he is.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He is actually like a chef. Like, dude loves his food, but he's a professional chef, and because that's where I saw him first. Didn't know that was her son. I was like, that's the dude from MasterChef.
See, I didn't even know that aspect of it. I was just like, oh, Luna's son. But he and it makes a lot more sense because, like, there's a point when he found out that his mother had passed away. He said some sort of chef something in Ohio or whatever the hell. And he was on his way and his grandma phones him and says, hey, I just found your mom, and that was Luna's mom that found her own daughter and that's not a cool thing to hear. And but he said it in a way that like you're supposed to know who he was, which I didn't have that context, but it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense now.
He was already talking like I'm the shit. You should know, but there's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh,
I mean, I guess. I mean, but he was pretty demure in terms of like his presentation of his mom, and yeah, it was just like, yeah, she was my mom. Yeah, she made it. Like, when she debuts at Mania 9, his reaction was like, wow, she did it. She really did it. It was very monotone. Like, a particular singer that plays in one key. I mean, Angus Young of the great ACDC has gotten a lot of shit over the years because he plays just one chord. All of those songs, one chord, right? Or my buddy Martin Starr, right? Martin Starr. If you see him in Freaks and Geeks and what have you, you see what the character of Napoleon Dynamite, and you see all the other things that he's in, and see him in real life. He's really that dude, right? So, is he really a great actor that he could play himself all throughout these, like for 2 decades, or he's shit because he doesn't? He's not a, what is it? A character? I mean, yeah, I mean, not a character actor, but he's not. I don't even know how you would say it.
you're just basically playing yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And again, you could go Angus Young, amazing guitarist that can have literally a 50-year career playing one chord bass and just figuring it out in one chord bass, nothing else. But most people are like, oh, he's not a whatever. But then, all the gold records and the gazillions of fucking dollars, and that tells you different. Yeah, like ABBA was fucking panned by the critics. So we're still talking about ABBA to this day. So
True. True.
yeah, man. Yeah, missed opportunities is one way to definitely categorize Luna's career. And again, jump. Well, first off, her at Mania 9, like just for historical context, right? Her and she comes out and she slams Sherry, and
I'm
just
on the
like,
outside, and everyone's
yeah,
just like, ah.
right. And those are the if those two females, right? Because like it wasn't until later when ESPN Classics had AWA, and I got into
Oh,
it. Sherry's when Sherry was the AWA Women's Champion, her matches, like she was so fucking stiff, and for the AWA clientele, like she might as well have been disabled. So it was weird to see her like white meat babyface when I know her to be sensational Sherry or Sister Sherry with Harlem Heat. I was just like, that's a different depiction. Like she's all like the same thing with Kurt Hennig. Like it was the same deal. I was like, when he was cool, Kurt Hennig. Not actually even before he was just Larry the Axe's son. Paired with Starship Coyote Scott Hall. Yeah, that was really a thing. Where
that was a thing.
yeah, when Hall looks like fucking John Oates from Hall and Oates, the fucking handlebar mustache and the fucking Jufro, right?
I
That's
like the way you say handlebar mustache. To me, that will always be a porn mustache.
porn staff,
That's porn
I
stash.
guess. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Oh, I mean, let me tell you something, brother. I've been racist as hell since 1984. Mustache. Fuck Hulkamania. Been racist since 1984.
Yeah, but he's got a tape too, so.
Yeah, that too. Eddie, we just got off of the fucking like critically acclaimed cancel culture, and then here's my silly fucking ass. Yeah,
Why not?
no, but I mean, no, it's her at like looking back at it because I didn't like Mania 9 is probably one of my. I like the whole Roman shit. I like the Undertaker coming out with the buzzards and fucking
I
Heenan
like.
coming out with the ass end of the camel. But like for Brett and for Luna, these should have been like bigger fucking things and it just didn't work out. The booking wasn't in their favor.
Because they weren't the highlight. It wasn't for. It sounds weird, but it wasn't for them.
Yep. Yeah, it was for the fucking dude who got hit in the head with the fucking boat. Looked like his eye had fucking caved in. He looked like a damn, what is it, Universal fucking movie studio monster, like a fucking creature from the deep. And he's noticeably thinner because this is what, a year or two removed from the steroid trial, right? Like, so
Yeah.
it's all out of whack. Brother Brood Eye is fucking coming with the damn Phantom of the Opera. Oh, you want me to call him the Booty Man?
Well,
Well,
well.
Ed Boulder. It's Ed Boulder to you, damn it.
The booty man.
Zodiac. What are we doing? Which way? The disciple. The disciple. Right on. No, but I mean, I look back at it and there's so many missed opportunities. Yes, we had fucking Scott Steiner damn near killing himself. Fucking Frankensteiner in the shit and landing on his head.
I can't even look at that.
Yeah, and then the fucking, narcissists and the mirrors and everything, and the sparklers are going all whatever because it's Vegas heat and it's fucking dry, and there's just a bit of wind gusts and whatever. So these poor motherfuckers that are probably like local job guys that would probably become ECW, regulars, a year or two from now, from this, right? They're just like holding the fucking mirrors and everything is just going sideways. And they're holding the mirrors for dear life. The fucking the pyro fucking almost hits Lex and everything. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like touring on a bus across America, and we're supposed to dig the guy.
Don't diss Lex Express, okay?
I wanted to ditch school for the Lex Express when it came to San Francisco. I was just like, Dad, can I go? Can I go? Can I go?
Can I go? No.
Education is important. Oh, little did he know, I would be doing more with my education in wrestling than the rest of the world. So, Dad. R.I.P. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
let's see you segue out of this. Let's see a comeback.
How do I come back out of this? So the greatest segment of this for me is the Muller segment. So we all know of greatest eyes in terms of telling stories. So everybody knows of Luna's caliber and her training history and her family, and it's the rhetoric of the line of everybody's got a Muller story, and it's just really interesting now after like some odd years later to know that it is true that everybody has one of those stories, whether it be good or bad. But then it almost kind of hit home for myself ever so much, if you guys anybody knows about me. But it's the line that Gangrel says when he tries to describe what Luna's reactions were like, or what she was like whenever anybody talks about Luna. It was like she generally always looked terrified. She looked scared. She looked as if like this woman has a hold on these girls. And it's just kind of like, it's almost kind of telling in a sense of where we've been from where we've come to now, where in kind of almost like training to be in this business and trying to get into this business, there's this installation of fear that usually happens like somewhat so down the line in your training career. And it's kind of interesting now, 20 some odd years later, to know that, places like that or people like that don't exist anymore. But it's just interesting to know that it's still existing way back then, especially for somebody who kind of came out of all of that and her training experience, her wrestling experience, and almost a touring experience, almost extremely traumatic, but then tried to push through it being traumatic and being almost kind of the ugliness of wrestling because she was exposed to so much ugliness. Almost down to her history with Vivian and her aunt and the wrestlers that used to come to the house or train at the training schools or be at the shows. There were situations that situations during that time period that were also brought up. And it's like her outside demeanor almost kind of depicted what she felt like on the inside. Because, again, as something that Gangrel says, Trudy, Angel was Angel, Luna was Luna. And you'd see the different faces every now and again. And it was just interesting to know that the things that in her life kind of did affect her, almost her aesthetic demeanor and how she'd like to present herself, because she had these two sides.
No, 100%. Yeah, you're spot on it. Now, in terms of one thing that I didn't even realize, right? But her start in Florida, because I know later on as she's managing the Blackhearts, Tom Knox and David Heath would go on to become Gangrel, and she was married to both of the Blackhearts at one point or another, right after Dirty Dick Slater, and that's just fun to say in 2021. Yes, at any time, but I'm just saying. We had Richard Nixon as a president, better known as Tricky Dicky and Dirty Dick Slater. I would love a tag team, a theoretical tag team of Tricky Dicky Nixon and Dirty Dick Slater. That'd be great. Just be great. But consent is. Yeah, but I don't know if Slater is still with us, but I know Nixon is succumbed, and I don't want to speak for them because consent is always sexy, and that's not exactly what you would think of Dirty Dick and Tricky Dick. But anyway, yeah, just fair enough. But with that all being said, there's a okay. So in terms of like the Muller deal, right? And Muller also trained a couple of male wrestlers, and they always knew something. They always knew something that was nefarious, right? And you know what's crazier? Even crazier than that, right? If you just imagine the era, right? We're talking about what 60s, 70s, because she kind of, becomes of age doing interviews, for Eddie Graham's Florida Championship Wrestling, right? And I didn't even know about that in her career. But like, we're talking wrestlers of the 80s that might have passed through. And the weird thing is, those guys, if they're still around, are the elder statesmen of the business, right? In their 80s and whatever. And they gather once a year in Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley, and they're all about that save our children, but they might have been some of the ones, or at least known a story of poor Luna as a kid getting. I mean, she was made a victim. Like, there were horrible things that were done to her, and they're all about save our children. And also, this last run of Cauliflower Alley, there's two legit fucking pedophiles working in the semi-main. Nobody said a fucking thing. Just saying. Just saying. Context is key, folks. Context is key. Just saying. So, yeah, man. But, I mean, Luna in terms... I wish... Like, what match during this era, right? If they were able to let people go, almost like the Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker match, right? What match would you have liked to see Luna in during any of her runs, whether that be WWF, ECW? And I'm surprised that like WCW never picks her up, but yeah, well.
I would have loved to have seen them do the Battle of the Monsters and done China and Luna, because they were the two, in terms of what you thought women were at that time, they were the two that were so outside of the box of what you'd expect, that just to see one of them kind of come out on top, you'd at least know that difference and change was trying to happen. But just to see both of them kind of on that spectacle above everybody else would have been amazing. The two in like completely different, out of the box divas, say divas because that's what they were at the time, divas that they had at the time, in the same match, that would have been nice, instead of always the complete opposite. Because if you think about it, with Luna, you always had Luna and then the girl that would be considered attractive on the other side. that was her match, and it would have been nice to just kind of see that evolution, that women's revolution back then that is happening now in terms of difference.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And for me, it'd be two eras, right? So Luna's first run, man, if you could give me Luna and Sherry,
Of course.
and yeah, that you can fucking sell that some bitch out anywhere. Like that is a fucking main event attraction, and they were gonna give you every bit. You know, like how people were talking about what was it, Trish and Lita main event in Raw, and you know the ladder match, or was it the hardcore or ladder match or what have you?
It was no DQ.
No DQ, right? You would have had that like eons before, just like you know Mania 10, the ladder match with Shawn and Razor. Well, you know, they were doing that, you know, literally 10 years before in Stampede. I mean, it was Bret Hart that introduces the concept to Pat Patterson. So, again, context is key. But the second run, fuck. Her and Jackie. Imagine.
That would have been dangerous.
And you know what?
Dangerous, but good dangerous.
And fuck doing it in like regular whatever. If that match would to take place in its prime, we're doing this shit Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. No ropes. Just let them go.
You know what you'd have to do? Luna would have to wear her braids. It would have to be Jackie, and Luna would have to be in her braids, and they'll both be in like black leather. And I'm in my head, I'm already.
Okay. You went straight up Linda Miles dominatrix, didn't you?
Yep.
Right on. I mean, everybody's got a preference, but also
a yin and yang dominatrix match. That's what I'm booking.
Asian reference dominatrix. Got it. And coming so far off of our again politically acclaimed culture counter. I keep on calling counterculture, but cancel culture deal. Yeah, we went dominatrix Asian. Right. Okay. But moving on. No, and the other one would be obviously her and Ivory. Ivory had a decent, you know, kind of.
It's weird. I would like to see her and Ivory, but not as she was Luna, the way that she was before, when she was the normally athlete, like trained wrestler, and she was just a wrestler. I would like to see her and Ivory in that kind of sense, but not her as the character of Luna. I think it would have looked like it would have been a good athletic contest between two trained wrestlers if you did it that way.
Yeah, well,
instead of so character based.
Well, it's funny because, like, you know, what's it? Lisa Moretti, right? Ivory. She actually has a run in the original Glow, right? The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and I mean, in its dying days, I think she was like Tina Ferrari or some odd, and yeah, but like, I could see that, but like for me, especially with like part of Ivory's right to censor, you know, fucking run. That was some of the best of her career because she got to be a heel, right? And then like her facial expressions, like were fucking money. And imagine like
mad props for wrestling in that skirt.
Yeah, right, right. But like that's the thing, right? So like I would have done like right to censor Ivory against that Luna. And I just think, and maybe it's not even that like athletic, whatever, but it's just like that fucking fun match where everybody will fucking remember. And it is the proliferation of what would end up becoming the women's revolution. Again, 10 years after the fact.
What's weird is now you're saying that I'm booking dream matches in my head. I'd like to see Luna and Abaddon. That'd be freaking hilarious.
No, I mean, it would be. I think it's great. No, 100%. And I would even assign him like Abaddon comes out with fucking Mark Lewin, Purple Haze, right? And Luna comes out with fucking Sid as her second. That's how I book it.
With like a Valkyrie chain of like bikers behind.
Yes, 100%. Well, just like her friend was just like, oh, you know, like Luna's funeral should have been like all the pyros setting off on the casket as they pull it down down the road and whatever. And then her son goes, "No, she's quiet,
Nah, she
whatever."
wouldn't want that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but then
okay.
again, I'm all like, but his attitude is pretty demure anyway. So I'd like her friend's kind of depiction of what Luna would have wanted for a funeral. I mean, this is like, how could you be like, no, she wouldn't want that, but she gets the final axe from Vince McMahon, right? And fucking Gangrel opens the door and shit like that, and it's like, watch this, and it's "fuck you, Vince" in cocaine,
Cocaine.
and you're telling me she's like, no, like, bro, I don't want to say you didn't know your mom, but like, dude,
Mm.
like one of these things are not like the other, is what I'm saying.
Mm.
What did you think? Because they didn't really touch on it, but Luna's second run, she comes in with the oddities, has "the bitch is back" promo, right? Like, what did you think about that run? Either when you were watching it initially, or looking back in retrospect.
It was weird for me because now I have something to kind of what's the word, compare it to. To me, it was like Sanity. It was like Nikki Cross in Sanity. You had this girl there that basically stood out amongst all of them, and there were some big dudes in Oddities, but
Mhm.
you didn't give her the time that she needed to grow and to shine. And then when she finally had that time, you took away the group. And it was just like, there was no, it was like, here is this amazing thing, look at it, but don't look at it for too long, and then it's gone now. That's to me like what it was. You had such a diverse group. I mean, totally ripping off everything to do with South Park, but awesome. But such a diverse group that people were paying attention to. You had the main attraction there in Luna, in my opinion, and
Yeah,
mostly probably everybody else's, but you didn't basically open the gate. You didn't set the bullet off and let it go. You just kind of, it was just there. It was pan attraction. It was just there. And it was just like, it was really sad. Me personally, I just found it really sad. It was a sad run because it should have done so much more. It could have done so much more.
it's kind of wild, right? So when you look back at the oddities stable, right? So like you said, I mean, just kind of going right. So we have Kurgan, who's Robert Malay, right? French Canadian, now actor. He's been in everything from like 300 to Sherlock Holmes. Like, he's big time actor, right? And then you've got Giant Silva, right? Who
Mm-hmm.
goes on to the Anoki version of New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? And is there for, more than a cup of coffee, but obviously in every what is it? Every like MMA compilation of freak show fights, it's fucking Giant Silva in fucking Pride, which I love because that's my two worlds fucking colliding. Like, he has a run and he's a member of Masahiro Chono's stable, Team 2000. He actually gets paired up with Great Khali, which, I wouldn't want to watch that at all. Good God.
Terrible.
Yes, I mean, and he also has a run with CMLL, right? Um, which was crazy. And he was introduced by a dwarf wrestler named Suki, and they were actually Technicos. So you had a dwarf wrestler and Giant Silva, and then obviously, like I said, the Pride fights, and yes, and then you have John Tenta, Earthquake, as Golga, right?
Cotton mask.
Yes, and then and then obviously Luna. So that was very underrated, right? And even when you go like, they were big into factions, right? During this era, there's the oddities, there's Los
There's a
Boricuas,
ministry.
the
There's the
Ministry.
everyone.
Yeah, there's okay. So let's see. So let's just off the top of my head, we have um the Nation of Domination, the
Okay.
oddities,
Okay.
the what is it? Los Boricuas,
Los Barricas. The
the disciple,
ministry,
the ministry, right?
the
This,
corporation.
the corporation, disciples of apocalypse,
Mhm.
and did we already say nation of domination?
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
The hearts would be counted.
no,
There
yeah,
you
the
go.
hearts,
How did you
yeah,
forget?
I
Um,
know. I literally have a pin, like right here. I literally have a pin that has that version of the hearts. I should be burnt at the stake, I think, for not remembering that. Not
I know.
literally, figuratively speaking. But yeah, they had a lot of factions and a lot of, and again, context is key because people are like, "Oh, New Japan has a lot of factions." Like, no, no, no. Like,
The
and at least
2000s were disgraceful.
it was like 99 because like but you come 2000 and fucking Giant Silva's over in Mexico as Gigante Silva, which Gigantes don't work well in wrestling. I don't know if anybody knows, but apparently it hadn't gotten wind the other side of the border is what I'm saying. Yep, yep. I feel like jumping Jeff Farmer, right? Yep. You're gonna
Yep.
backstab me one way or another. Yeah, you got me mad now.
He's been
Uh
practicing that for a while.
yeah, man. Oh, I love that one. Oh, and then the guy that he's like the Motley Cruz and see his rebuttal promo. It is the absolute shits, man. It is the absolute shits. And then you had another guy of the same promotion who cuts a racist, misogynistic fucking promo that makes David Schultz is Dr. David Schultz's fucking promo with Mean Gene and the AWA where they're talking about coming to San Francisco. Have you seen that promo?
I probably have and have stricken it from my mind.
The woman. I went
Uh,
telling Mean Gene, I went to San Francisco looking for a woman. I didn't find no woman. And I don't want to, whatever. But fucking Mean Gene is losing his shit. He can't keep a straight face. And what do you talk about, Gene? Ah. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it is
just
funny.
don't watch your, just don't
And
watch
it's
your wrestling.
one of my heroes just fucking crack, just absolutely crack the fuck up, And I'm an AWA mark, so the fact that it happened, oh shit, was it the fucking ghost of whatever woman Dr. D. David Schultz was talking about knocking shit over
What?
in the According to Wood studio? Damn it.
See, he's telling you not to talk about him. That's the problem. It's because you're talking about him.
Okay. I mean, Dark Side of the Ring, you had a fucking Dr. D. David Schultz episode, so he's like a bounty hunter now. Him and Steve Blackman. So imagine if you're running for the law and you have the lethal weapon and Dr. D. Fuck. Fuck.
Who else is a bounty hunter? Somebody else is a bounty hunter as well.
Steve Blackman for sure.
Yeah, Steve Blackman, Dave Schultz. Somebody else is a bounty hunter as well, but I can't remember who it is.
If I'm gonna say it's Kid Cash, I just feel like
you're just going to say it.
no, because like Kid Cash also like What Culture did a like 10 wrestlers that you didn't know competed in MMA, and I was like, and maybe this is just me knowing too much about both worlds, right? But there's a like I do Voodoo in the Woods, right? I do Voodoo in the Woods, and I with Pius Dino Lobo, Voodoo Maximus, former U of MMA champion. And here's the deal: there is a card, amateur MMA card for the U of MMA, where you have Daria, who becomes Sonya Deville, and Shyler Andrews, Scorpio Sky, right? They're there's a fight, and the fight in between them is actually Pius, right? So WWE, dude, I do a podcast with AEW, all whatever, and both of them were off the fucking What Culture list. Simon Culture, motherfucker, get your shit together.
My fellow champion, my fellow roster mate, bless him.
Yeah, I know. I love him. No, I What Culture and Cultaholic. Shout out to them. I get my what is it, Russell Talk? Like that's how I get my fucking news because it's shit everywhere else. Yeah, that and Rogan. I think that's a pretty. Oh, on Breaking Points, they do a lot of political stuff, but those are where I get my news, which tells you everything you need to know about me. That's a pretty good tell.
I just do what everybody else does and flick through Instagram.
All right, yeah, that's good. Oh shit! If Luna Vachon had an Instagram, what
Oh no.
would it look like?
What would it look like? You see how yours is filled with like memes and dad jokes? She would basically like gif every Mad Max movie you could ever think of, every single one of her entrances, and probably work out how to put pyro through the phone. I
Yeah.
think she'd be awesome at social media. It
Oh,
would just be in
100%.
your face all the time.
Well, you said pyro through the phone. I think at some point she hooks up with Ace Frehley. I'm not talking about hook up that way. I mean, like they just kind of join powers and everything like that. Obviously the fucking spaceman behind Kiss, right? And known for the fucking pyro guitars. Like they figure out a way to pyro her phone and shit like that. And oh, her TikToks would be awesome, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, they would. And they would.
I would oh man, and it's weird. So what could have happened, right? In the way that they trot out, Alundra Blaze, Medusa, for legend shows or pretty notable because they did it for NW. It's not just the WWE. She was there for NWA's all female in the Empower pay per view at the Kiel Auditorium. Might as well have been. Well, not the Kiel Auditorium. It was at the Chase. It's the Chase, right? A bastion of St. Louis wrestling. But I would have loved for Luna to be here at some point and kind of. I think she would be vital to today's wrestlers. Look at the post Luna, right? You have Rosemary, you've got Abaddon, you've got whatever Alexa Bliss is doing, right? And they have done pretty damn fucking good on their own right. But imagine if you had the context of Luna and they could work a shoot slot. Like, Jesus Christ. What if she ends up because she passes away before they institute the WWE wellness policy where they help out wrestlers and whatever? What if she got help, right? Like, Sean Waltman and, Peter Polica or Aldo Montoya, Justin Credible, what man of many monikers, right? But like, what if she gets help in the mental, you know, um, care that she desperately needed, right? Like she would be here and she would be kick ass, right? Because like look at Jake Roberts, as an example for a male counterpart that was really, wasn't doing good for the majority of his career in terms of chemical dependencies, and he's on national, international TV in his 60s.
I mean, no, it's sad to think that all it did realistically need was somebody to help, and that's all it was. I mean, it's also sad to think to know undeniably that she would have been absolutely like on fire in this era, and then even for the generation now and previous, she would have been an amazing mentor, an amazing tutor. I mean, heck, think of what it would have been like if Luna was backstage during the first and second Mae Young Classic. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to have Alondra Blaze back there, to have Lita there with us, and every other legend that was there with us, to have somebody of her caliber also there would have been just phenomenal. And it's just really weird to think that all it probably would have taken was for somebody just to say, "Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's man. I just there's so much that was missed out, and obviously, her sons that didn't really get her because she was always on the road, right? But as a fan, like I felt like what could have been, and they only because we got to see Kurt Hennig, we kind of got to see Rick Rude, right? Other people that might have not had big runs because of the era and what have you, but Rick Rude was a star. Kurt Hennig was a star, right? Like the star that Luna could have been, and especially who ends up coming in and the je ne sais quoi of what was the expectation of a diva versus a wrestler, which she was trained to be a wrestler. I think it would have been she'd be absolutely vital. Her and Sherry, like imagine instead of May Young and Mula, you have Sherry
Fury
and
and
Luna.
Luna. Wait, who'd give birth to the hand though?
I don't think they even do it.
Good.
Yeah, no, because this is the same Luna theoretically, right? That says no to the broad panties. You think she's gonna say yes to the fucking birthing of a hand? So she had principle. She had tact. Everything that she did. Like I didn't even realize those were extensions until they said it.
You
I thought
didn't
that was,
know? How did you, dude? How did you?
kayfabe, kid, kiss fizz, kiss fizz. I'm just saying, it's still real to me. Damn it. Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying. No, I mean, and it's, dude. Like imagine, like I'm looking at my damn Jim Cornette action figure, the holiday version. I'm like, what? What would have been having Luna on a podcast? That would be great.
Yeah. Just listen to that interview. You would have known it would have been great.
Yeah, 100%. And so again, there's, I almost feel like because you said, in any other era, or she was just born in the wrong era. Well, that's what Dr. J says of Michael Jordan. Even though Michael Jordan grew up watching Dr. J, but Michael Jordan was like the first real NBA player that made big fucking money in and outside of fucking basketball, right?
But it's weird though. Her entire being, her entire being, and the way that it was kind of received by everybody else. This is management from the WE. This is the WE universe because it's its own entity of universe. How much they kind of craved difference in like women like Lita, but then it wasn't accepting for someone like Luna. Like a thong was so revolutionary, but you know, she, Luna was like leaps and bounds different than that.
Yeah. Oh, and going back to the, I thought I perceived it that way, and I was kind of right in my head because I was like, oh, the Jackal. I remember the Jackal being a part of the oddities, and he was, and we forget because obviously Robert Millay or Kurgan, though how he's introduced to us is via the Truth Commission with the Jackal. You know who the Jackal is?
Yeah.
No?
No, yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
remember.
That fucking invisible hand, Don Callis is AEW's version of fucking Heyman, So like, fuck. Imagine if they put the Jackal with Luna. Oh,
Mm, mm.
I in my head, especially with what Don Callis, how versatile. Like Don Callis was doing like almost a rip off of fucking Rick Martel before he gets called up to any like major U.S. promotion, right? So if he's like Pretty Boy Don Callis, I think you would have seen him and Luna team up as almost like a later day incarnation. I mean, a previous incarnation of what we would end up seeing with Father James Mitchell and Rosemary in Impact.
True.
So yeah, man.
I
I
let you
don't.
have that one.
Yeah, I wish you were here. Kind of selfishly because we did because she never really has a major run anywhere, right? So she's obviously in AWA for a cup of tea, right? She's in Florida. That was the majority of her career from 85 to 92. She was, yeah, because Angel, she's Angel Vachon when she's with Mula, and it was a member of a four-woman wrestling troupe with Mad Maxine, who makes her appearance in all throughout this Dark Side of the Ring, right? And she was check this out. She was roommates with fucking Scott Levy, who would become Johnny Polo, who would later become quote the Raven Nevermore, Raven. And I think that's fun to think about it. And then in Florida, that's the first time that Medusa Maselli, who would later become Alundra Blaze, they had a big fucking long lasting rivalry, right? But and she's let's see, in 1987, Luna and Locke, who's a part of the Daughters of Darkness in Continental under the Fullers, right? She was in Continental, but they didn't have a women's division and what have you. So that's pretty much it, And then she travels to Japan with her father Butcher Vachon, right, acting as his manager, also in Puerto Rico. Then she wrestles for the precursor to Wild Women of Wrestling, Dave McClain's Powerful Women of Wrestling, or POW, POWW. Yeah, so she doesn't have a run. She doesn't have a sustain her being paired with Bam Bam and then later with the oddities. Those are her two big runs, but she goes titleless all of her career. From 85, the year that I was born, until 2007. No, not one title.
It's not right.
Isn't. It isn't. And yes, I'm yes, we've improved so much, But fuck, imagine her being in that battle royal with Tori Wilson at Evolution. Jesus Christ. That'd be great.
Just cleaned house.
Yeah. I think if Luna was still in good graces with the WWE, the Boogeyman would have never existed. Because do you remember a significant instance that happens with the Boogeyman on SmackDown? You remember JBL's cabinet?
Yeah. Oh, when he eats the thing off of Jillian's face. Don't. No. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I think it's Luna here.
It's true. Okay, yeah.
Luna was game. As long as she got to wrestle, she's game. It's like every grappler. They're that starts Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're you have to wear a gi. She'd be of all the fucking shit that I have gone through, all I got to do is fucking eat this thing off the girl's face. Cool, let's do it. You give me 20 minutes, and don't fucking do a dusty finish on me, because I grew up in Florida.
I wonder what that was on her face now. I don't even want to know.
Okay, I'm gonna find, because Jillian's No. Jillian's done a couple shoot interviews, so I will get that blurb and I will send it to you. But yeah, no, but Luna, one of the greatest of all time. And it's funny because Sakuraba, right? As long, whether it be MMA, pro wrestling, catch wrestling, what have you, do you know he's only won one title in his entire career? Do you know this? Do you know what that title is?
No, what is it?
Outside of the Saku belt that he created himself, almost a la Taz's FTW championship, it's the All Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Championship that he currently holds right now.
That's the only one.
Because he was jumping up and down in weight classes, so he never stayed in one weight class enough to fucking contend for a title. But he beat all the Gracies, choked him out. So that in itself, the Gracie Hunter, the Gracie Killer, that's a title. Sounds pretty fucking cool. It's a nice icebreaker at a party. I don't know. He's not sticking, fucking coins in his fucking head like Abdullah. So there's that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. But Luna, man, what could have been, and that's that's the horrible that takeaway from it. What could have been, what could have been if she had gotten help? What could she have been for, this new generation of wrestler that came after her, of female wrestlers that came after her, like all women's pay per view. Like I think she passes way before they even have, because she retires in 2007, right? And when did she pass away? She passes away '09. Oh, and she did get a rehab stint provided to her by the WWE, and she competed in June of 2019. I mean, not 2019, 2009. So that's crazy. So August, wait. So she passes away August 27, 2010, right? But June the previous year, she completes a rehab stint paid for by the WWE. So that was almost a year to the date in which she passes away, from June to August of the next year. Crazy. This dude, and here's the thing: after retirement, talk about. Oh, so Luna was honored at the April 2009 Cauliflower Alley reunion, given the Ladies Wrestling Award in Vegas. One of her fondest memories about wrestling was she was able to visit children as a part of the Make a Wish Foundation. After her retirement, Luna took an interest to fellow Canadian wrestlers and especially monitored the career of Natty Neidhart, the daughter of fellow wrestler and friend Jim Neidhart. So we're seeing Natty. That is a pretty much like an ushering of Luna Vachon. That is an effigy of the career of what could have been. But then that's also WWE, right? Is what do you do with the only girl to graduate from the fucking heart dungeon? You give her a fart gimmick and just bury her, right? Just saying. So as much as I'd like to think it would be better, I don't know. I don't know if it would be, but also before the time of retirement in 2007. Well, isn't Impact Wrestling doing Awesome Kong? Fuck her and Awesome Kong in Japan.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Jesus Christ!
there you go.
Wow.
Basically, we've just unlocked the fact that there could have been so much more done.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah,
and the more you open this, the more sad you're going to get. So
yeah, yeah. There's no winners here. Absolutely no winners. But again, shout out to Van Herd, her son, that has on the ashes of what his mother's legacy is. He's created a legacy all his own, and she's somebody that, again, the sorrow and the regret that we feel, the people that are around her also feel the same way, and the affinity. It's almost the one that got away. We should have treated her better, right? It's almost like China all over again, right? But before China happened. So it's just like treat everybody nicely, be as
be
best as you can.
kind.
Be kind. Rewind. And this rewind is it's a somber one, but again, shout out to Luna Vachon, a pioneer, a trailblazer of current day women's wrestling. People are doing women's wrestling, and I mean Luna Vachon style, and might not even know it. So again, look up your history, know your facts. But one of the all-time greats, Luna Vachon, dearly miss, and yeah, man. I'm gonna go down a deep dive on the YouTube of Luna Vachon matches.
And just cry into a pillow right now.
Yeah, pretty much. But as I cry, one thing that people will be elated to find is everything that you're doing. Double champion you are, right? So for
Thank you.
people that want to get a little bit more aware of everything you're doing, especially as your region of the world is starting to open up and there's shows and shows and shows, and buy some merch and go to your gimmick table, where can they do that virtually on the interwebs?
On the interwebable, you can just type in BigFemVader. I always do this wrong. that way now. This way. There we go. BigFemVader into every social. Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's pointing to into every social media platform you can possibly find. Not only that, but Fierce Females Wrestling, Fierce Females Glasgow, and Fierce Females Dojo will be showing you amazing things quite soon. And check out UPW SWE Wrestling because I am your new champion. And I will see you guys very soon.
Yep, I'm Gordon Woods, and all of our link trees are right here in the description, so you don't have to go far to figure out where to find us. I like to hide in plain sight, post a meme, do a podcast, and then just say fuck all and watch conspiracy movies. So, anywho, that's that. Subscribe to the podcast if you don't believe me. Here's Zeta Zang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to